Day. My name is Gina Dingman, and I'm part of the Quote Wizard Agent Education team. Quote Wizard, as most of you know, we supply high intent leads and calls. Few housekeeping. I'll be sending this recording at the end of the week, so don't worry if you have to hop out for a second. I'll save all of this great info. And same, I will be sharing all of Brett's information at the end of today, so don't worry. Speaking of Brett, we are so excited to have Brett Schickler, who is the National Sales Director at Ricochet 360. He helps businesses transform their sales process through automation, speed to lead strategies, and intelligent follow-up systems. He has years of experience in sales and leadership, and he is really intent on process automation. So he's worked with hundreds of teams to double their production. He is very practical, he's results driven, and he's also great. So very smart, very personable. We're really, really lucky to have him today. And whenever you're ready to start.
Awesome. Gina, you do such a great job, and thank you for having me on once again. So, wanted to talk to the group here about something I think that's kind of hot topic for everybody right now, right? How do we get the cost per quote or cost per sale down? Really, it's really what we're all here for, right? So everyone here is probably buying leads or you're considering it. And when you first start out in business, we always have a goal, right? And we're like, all right, our goal is we're going to try and, cut our costs, lower expenses, and we want to increase sales as much as possible, all right? And we're going to make as much money as we humanly can. So we set out to do this, and every year our goals get a little bit higher, right? We find out suddenly that the goals that we thought we had are probably higher than we anticipated. Just like everything else in life, the cost of goods is going up. And for a lot of us, our sales are either flat or in some cases, they're even going down. And I think there's some, different things that we can do, right? So a lot of times when, business owners are faced with a situation where expenses are going up, maybe sales are not, in line with that, they have to go back to the basics. So they start looking at training, sales training, education for them, their team. They invest into their business, right? So you invest back into your business. Maybe it's driving more marketing dollars, putting better systems, processes in place. Maybe you decide, hey, we got to hire, right? We got to get more people into the business. All viable strategies, right? But there's a cost and a time factor associated with each of these things, right? So sales training can take years, right? A lot of you probably pick things up a whole lot faster than I do. It probably took me realistically 10 years to get really decent at sales, right? I'm still learning, right? I'm a lifelong student, but on the low end, maybe 3 years, right, to get really proficient at sales. That could be hundreds of thousands of dollars in, overhead when it comes to paying salaries, while that person is learning in your business. We also know that investing without the right systems, we can, very quickly lose a lot of money, right? And it's not because our team's doing the wrong things or we're buying the wrong things or putting the wrong leads in front of them. A lot of times it's just the lost opportunity is because certain opportunities slip through the cracks, right? We're humans, we make mistakes, but how bad is that leak, right? That's something we really got to look at. And then hiring, tough, right? Very tough. I think anyone that's been in business a long time can agree that, people can be one of the toughest parts of the business. And hiring the wrong person can be very expensive, right? So a lot of the strategies, the back to basic strategies, they're time intensive and they're capital intensive. But for many of us, we need results today. All right, so we're going to look at John and Jane here. John and Jane are both insurance agents, and they both started out with the same resources. And ChatGPT put a couple extra people over here, but we're just going to pretend that all resources are the same, right? So they got the same team, they've got the same capital, they're starting out at the same time, they've got the same leadership, and even their goals are the same. So day one, they start out on the same footing, okay? And we're going to follow John through his experience here today. And then we're going to circle back with Jane here a little bit later. Okay. So I just want to pull something up here. We're going to switch to another screen share. Okay. All right, so we're just going to look at John, and John's goal, he wants to increase sales, right? He's also, increasing interest in increasing contact rates, right? And that makes sense. If you can talk to more people, typically you're going to sell more. He's interested in increasing call volume, right? Sales is a numbers game. So if we can talk to more people, call more leads, probably going to sell more. He also wants to find ways to increase, that talk time, get better data and reporting, and then, hopefully get some good coaching along the way. So John in our example here, and also Jane, they both have two salespeople. They have one telemarketer, and they are the business owner. On average, they're buying 45 leads a day, and we're just going to say that these leads are 20, I will say they're $10 a piece. Now, in this example, we can see that, they're spending roughly $10,000 a month, and, John's team works really hard. Make around 50 calls a day. With the way that the industry and phone companies are currently set up, blocking a lot of numbers as spam, they're finding it more difficult to get the same number of leads on the phone that they were even a couple years ago. But on an average, they're usually getting about 20% contact rate. And for all that hard work, all those calls, all those clicks, all the leads that are purchased, they get around an hour and a half of talk time a day. Now, I want you to pause here for a second. I want you to take some quick inventory, okay? And I want you to really think for a second and be honest with yourself, right? Where are the sales happening in 2026? Right? For many of us, right, we may have been in business a long time and we may have even knocked on doors, opened up the phone book and called people out of the phone book meticulously. But fast forward to 2026, how often are we really knocking on doors? How often are we meeting somebody face to face and shaking hands? For the large majority of us, 90% of the business is probably being generated over the phone. So take quick inventory. If you know your talk time in these numbers, I'd like you to just take a quick second, grab a piece of paper, and write this stuff down. Okay, you can follow along here. So write down your calls per person per day, your contact rate on your new leads, your talk time per person, and then your closing rate. And then I want you to write down what you're currently doing in terms of your monthly premium, or if you track your success in items or number of policies, feel free to adapt it accordingly. But let's just say in John's example here, he's doing 50,000, right? When he first started out, he said, geez, if I could hit 100,000 in premium, that would be absolutely amazing. That would give my family and me the income that we need in order to, really thrive and grow the business. But deep down inside, John has a stretch goal, right? His stretch goal is 200,000. And if you're listening right now, maybe your numbers are way lower or way higher than this, but I know we all have goals, right? And it's important to know where we're going if we want to get anywhere, right? So take a second, write this down. It's kind of a good thing to do if you haven't done it in a while anyway. So write down what you're doing currently in sales, your humble goal, and then the stretch goal. Now, there's a lot of different types of, marketing strategies and phones and CRMs. But regardless of what you have, right, you can kind of think of all of this as like your little stack to get John the performance that he's getting, right? So he's got, in his example, almost 1,000 leads a month coming in. His sales team is making those 50 calls a day. They're getting a 20% contact rate, and all that hard work, once again, is getting them to right around 50,000. The quiet dream and goal, though, is to consistently hit 200,000 or above. Now, John's been at this for 6 months at this point, and he's consistently hitting 50,000, but he can't seem to break through there. And if you were to ask John how comfortable or how confident he felt that next month he was going to hit 200,000 with the staff, the marketing, and the systems and processes that he has in place, what do you think he would say? chances are he would probably rate himself as like a 1 or a 2, right? If 1 is he's miles away and 10 he's going to hit it next month, he's probably going to say, hey, I'm a 2, maybe even a 3, right? There's a chance, but that's somewhere we've never gone before. And just like I discussed earlier, there are different solutions, right? John could go and, we could double marketing spend. For many of us, we might not be able to do that, right? Certainly, John could go and hire, 2 more salespeople and also another telemarketer. And based on their current performance, they should be able to get to 100,000 a month, right? But he's also picking up, probably a couple $100,000 in overhead. And you could also try and pull the training lever, right? So we can hire a trainer, or we could spend time training and learning, right? More sales skills, new ways and new techniques. And you should be doing that, right? But as I mentioned earlier, that can take a really long time to really sink in and become proficient. And we want results now. So one of the things that I do, I'm with Ricochet, and we have a lead manager, phone, dialer, marketing automation tool, and spam protection system that's all in one roof, all under one roof. The spam protection is important in this environment because 72% of customers say that they distrust scam likely, right? When they see that pop up on their phone, 72% of customers are just not going to answer. I fall into that category myself. We've been getting these calls for, gosh, like 3 years, and it seems like last year they got even more aggressive. And if you feel that way, you're completely right. And I want you to put yourself in your customer's shoes for a moment. If you're investing thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars into marketing and training and staffing, and they're calling from spam likely numbers, even though you're a legitimate business buying legitimate leads, you're doing nothing wrong. Do you think people are going to answer? Right? Most likely not. So what we can do is we can protect your caller IDs. We have a unique and proprietary way to do this. So we can fix spam likely faster and cheaper than any other phone company on the market today. If you're buying high quality leads from Gina and the Quote Wizard team, or any vendor for that matter, speed is a huge factor, right? Why is that? Well, for the majority of people shopping today for your products, right, they're shopping online. And they may visit a couple different websites, right? Typically, when I go shopping, I want to get a couple different prices. So what do? They go around to a couple different websites, they fill out several different forms, not knowing that their phone is about to start ringing quite a bit, right? So if you're waiting to call leads, even a couple seconds, you're missing opportunity. Our system helps your new leads be called in under 1 second, right? So we do this without human input. And because of that, we give you a speed to lead advantage. So you get better contact rates because your caller IDs are protected. And you also get more pickups because you can get to the new leads faster. Now, I've been in this industry for right around a decade, and I've heard a lot of agents over the years say, oh, this lead wasn't any good or that wasn't any good. The scary statistic I'm going to give you is the average lead in our industry gets called 2.7 times. Can we really consider it a bad lead if we're only calling it 2.7 times? What our system brings to the table is consistency. Over the 90 days that you get a lead, you're going to have a set number of phone calls that are guaranteed to go out. So that new lead gets the right number of calls on day 1 all the way through day 90 every single time. And then you have reporting to be able to track, quantify, and measure these results. Okay. So we're going to go back here just to our uh, our little slide here with John and Jane. And we're going to fast forward 6 months. So 6 months later, John and Jane, they started off in the same spot. They had the same team, they had the same resources, they had the same, district manager. All things were equal. What was different was in John's scenario, he wasn't really too focused on learning about contact rates. He wasn't too focused about even educating himself on what his contact rate with the leads he was investing in was. And because of that, he wasn't hitting his goals. Money was dwindling fast and his team was burned out. Jane, on the other hand, had a very different experience, right? Started out in the same spot, same lead spend, but her team grew. Her premium per producer was twice that of John's. Now, her team is no more skilled, and they really didn't have any more time to train. We're talking about the same time frame here. The different factor here is, Jane was running her marketing strategy through a system that allowed her to double the industry average contact rate. Now, Ricochet does just that. So industry average is usually around 20%. I pulled a screen grab from a real agency's dashboard in Ricochet. I'm not going to tell you who this is, and I blocked out all the proprietary information. But what you can see here is the new leads that they bought last month. We're only showing you the leads that came in last month. They're hitting about a 46 to 47% contact rate. Okay. And this is Jane's office. John, remember, was running about a 20% contact rate. So they're buying the same leads. They've got the same team, the same skill set. In fact, John's team might even be more skilled, but he's only talking to half as many people as Jane's team. So there's just no way to mathematically get ahead of Jane working with that kind of contact rate. Contact rates in 2026, I consider them the new elemental force, right? We still got to do training, we still got to do marketing, we still got to hire, but we also have to keep a very close eye on contact rates. This is another screen grab from another report from a real agency inside of Ricochet. And this is a screenshot of a team with 8 salespeople. The industry average, and you can think to your own talk time. So talk time, for anybody that's not familiar, is the total time spent on the phone, and then you subtract out any time that the phone's ringing or any time that you're leaving a voicemail. So you can see in Ricochet, we track the ring time, the talk time, and then the total phone time. So when we show talk time, this is just quality conversation. And when we took inventory earlier, we all kind of agreed, like most of the sales usually happen over the phone. So talk time is kind of a measurement of how much quality conversation or how much quoting conversation your salespeople are getting to have on a daily basis. Now, when I say this, I don't mean that you want to drag the conversations out. It's not the intention here. We're just saying we want to get more real human beings on the phone, right? So the quantity of those quality conversations needs to multiply if you want to increase sales. All right. So for any of you that, are also looking at a telemarketer, right? So maybe some of you have like an SDR or you've hired a telemarketer. Ricochet also works really well for that. A telemarketer in a system like Ricochet can make 600 or 700 calls a day. And with our contact rates, they're generating a lot of opportunities from inside of your own book. Okay. All right, so let's take a little bit deeper dive on scam likely and spam likely. Why does it happen? What can I do if I don't have Ricochet and Spam Guru? Is there anything I can do on my own? Absolutely. So first thing, you kind of need to put yourself in the customer's shoes for this journey for a moment, okay? Spam likely on your caller IDs is caused by behavioral impact, okay? It's the phone carriers that are labeling your phone numbers as spam. So it's not actually your leads and it's not your customers. It is Verizon, it's AT&T, it's T-Mobile, it's Sprint. I want you to kind of think of the big phone carriers as big brother for a moment because they're watching you. And moving into 2026, it would be wise to have your team be on their best behavior, right? We call them best call practices. And this is something that you can do whether you have, Ricochet or any phone system, okay? So call behavior significantly influences how the carriers are scoring your phone calls. If they score you badly, your numbers get flagged. If they score you positively, your numbers stay in good standings, okay? So the first thing that you want to do is go over to like Hiya, First Orion. If you haven't already done this, go and register your phone numbers today. Okay, go and register them today. It doesn't cost anything. Like you can go do it on your own. You should also understand some of the triggers of spam because even registering your phone numbers is not enough. Okay, it's not enough. The phone carriers are looking for odd call behavior. Okay. So once again, putting yourself in the customer's shoes for a moment. If you were a customer and you started getting a call back to back to back from the same phone number and you never answered it and they're never leaving a voicemail, do you trust that? Probably not, right? That's odd behavior. If somebody was calling you and left a voicemail and they didn't call you back, you could listen to the voicemail and make the decision whether you wanted to talk to them. That is more normal behavior. These are the types of things that the phone carriers are literally looking for. So just as a quick reference, if you're buying leads and you're telling your team to double tap the leads, I promise you it is not benefiting you. Okay, we're in talks behind closed doors with some of the biggest phone carriers on the planet. And the consensus is double tapping the same lead, calling it back to back is one of the main reasons that they flag you. Okay, so if you're doing that, give yourself a little time in between the first call and the second call. Ideally, have a system that has that guardrail in place that mandates it and dictates it automatically every single time. There's always been a big debate. Should we leave a voicemail? Right? Voicemails can be time consuming. And then there's the other side of the coin, right? Voicemail, some people call us back. Okay, I'm here to tell you unequivocally, you need to leave a voicemail. Okay, you need to leave a voicemail. If you're just calling leads and hanging right up, once again, the phone carriers can see this. You want to leave a 10-second voicemail. Now, ideally, you'll have a system where you can record a pre-templatized voicemail with good energy, good tonality, and a clear, concise message, and you can drop that at the click of a button. Okay? Too many calls. Too many calls. You're calling too many leads off of one phone number. If you have one phone number in your agency and your team is making 50 calls per person, you got 4 people, that's 200 calls a day, right? They're all coming from one number. It is too many, right? We suggest 25 calls per line per day. We've done a lot of testing, and that seems to be the magic ratio. And then panic dialing. Okay, dialing leads frantically without any sort of strategy increases your probability of spam. Why? Double tapping, not leaving voicemails, too many calls on the same phone line. So these are all things that you can look at. And I see some things in the chat here. Are you saying no more triple dialing? Yeah, if you're using like a triple dialer, like that is one of the main culprits. Like at Ricochet, we used to have a triple dialer. For anyone that's not familiar, it dials out to 3 lines simultaneously. Somebody answers. The phone carriers can see that in 2025 and 2026. If they see you calling 3 lines simultaneously from one phone number, is that going to look like unusual behavior? So never telling anyone what to do with their business, but you got to try and put yourself in the customer's shoes for a moment and say, hey, how would this look if I was on the other end of it? Okay. Is there a spam? Is there a way to test how our spam rating is? Yeah, you can go to several different resources online and they'll check it. It's not always 100% accurate. Um, Ideally, you want to check your contact rates. That's going to be your best indicator because there's no, perfect source to say your numbers have been flagged with all of these different carriers. Checking your contact rates are essential. Here's a little pro tip. If you're buying leads and you're tracking your contact rates right now, you want a 20% contact rate on your new leads on day one. Okay. Every lead that comes in day one, you should be getting a 20% contact rate on outbound calls. By day 7, 30% contact rate. By day 14 to 30, we want to see over a 40% contact rate on leads. If you are not getting that on your outbound phone calls, there is some massive room for improvement. Okay. I want to circle back to some of these questions because they're all really good, but I got some more stuff and I think it's important that we cover some of this ground here. So I will answer all these. Just give me a second. I want to get through this and then we'll open it up for some more Q&A. All right, so protecting contact rates. What can I do? All right, a lot of these are in the questions right now. So rotating your caller ID reduces your chances of being labeled as spam. If you're limiting it to say 20 or 25 calls per phone line per day, that looks like really kind of normal behavior, right? If you're making 200 or 400 calls from a single phone line, once again, the phone carriers are going to see that. Call pacing. right? This helps you to maintain a professional appearance and it doesn't overwhelm your prospects. This goes back to the double and triple tapping, right? The three line or multi-line dialing. We also have registered caller IDs, right? Registering your phone numbers is a must. Okay, once again, if you're not familiar with how to do this, look up HIYA. It's HIYA or First Orion. If you haven't already registered there, go do that today. And then structured cadences, right? Having a way to automate call cadences so that you have guardrails in place for this stuff. Okay, we got to be kind of more strategic moving into 2026. And then, on your side as the agency owner or business owner, you want to monitor your performance. Okay, so I call it the brush your teeth method. I think we can go really deep into spreadsheets and reports, and it can get overwhelming. And a lot of times we look at them once a year or once a quarter. The most successful agents I've ever worked with and the most successful business owners, they have one thing that's really consistent that I don't even know if they know. They look at their reporting for like 2 to 3 minutes a couple times a day. And just like anything in life, right, we kind of are creatures of habit. If we do something once every quarter, right, we're going to be kind of looking at a lot of different stuff. There's going to be a lot of noise in the reporting. But if we build a habit of looking at data every day for 2 to 3 minutes a day, you start to notice patterns faster and more efficiently, right, than your colleagues. And if there's something that's underperforming, whether it's people, processes, systems, leads, whatever it is, being able to identify that and being able to work through that in the right way can save you a lot of money, right? And Gina and Quote Wizard, their team, they want to help you perform better. So the more information that you can give them, the better leads they can put in front of you, right? So the more success you and your team can have. And then protecting contact rate goes without saying, gotta leave a voicemail every single time. Okay, leave a voicemail at least 10 seconds. Start doing that today and watch your contact rate shoot up. All right, so contact rates. Let's talk a little bit about dialers. So early 2020s, everyone thought of a dialer as like a call center, right? Like, oh, I don't need a dialer, not a call center. Okay, in 2026, I want you to reframe your thinking, right? This isn't a dialer per se. This is a best practice guardrail system. It's faster, it's more efficient, it has less burnout, you can get out more calls, and you can do it in a compliant way where you're not exceeding those best call practices. You're not double tapping leads. Okay? You're not calling people sporadically. You're not calling leads 2.7 times sometimes and 12 times others. You have consistency. And when every lead goes through a consistent and predictable process, your results become more consistent and predictable. And wouldn't that be nice, right? All right, so a couple more things, and then I promise we're going to jump into the Q&A here because I see that chat is just lighting up. I love it. So Apple screens your calls. Like if anyone here has a Apple iPhone, I got my wife and I the new iPhone this year. And when I was setting it up, one of the first things that it asked me in the setup process was, would I like to have my calls automatically screened? Of course, I said, yes, I do. Yes, I do. So if you are an iPhone owner, you can do this right now. The new iPhones will do it upon setup. If you're an iPhone owner, you can go into your settings. You can even look up how to do it on YouTube, but you can have your iPhone start screening out your calls. The reality is 30 million Americans in the United States have an iPhone. It's called the Liquid Update. And some of you have probably seen it, this weird thing where somebody calls and it's like it starts transcribing the call like right on your screen, right? It's like, oh, it might be so-and-so calling. And then it starts transcribing what they're calling about. Now, for a lot of us, we're looking at this, we're like, oh no, another obstacle to get through. I'm here to say, got good news for you. Everyone on this call, this can be a huge unlock for you in 2026 if you do it the right way. Okay. So really, really important. This is something everybody can implement. You don't got to pay to do it. So just stick with me for a couple more minutes here. So a lot of agents are missing this key opportunity. When they're calling, they don't realize how this Apple Liquid iPhone update works. When you call an iPhone now, it says state your name, and I'll see if the caller is available. Now, most people say the name only, right? They just say, hey, it's Brett, right? Or too often they're rambling because they're not used to this new technology, right? Your salesperson might not understand what this is. And for myself, until I tested it and really played around with it, I didn't understand it either. And sometimes if we're not, paying attention, right, we're just smiling and dialing, we get cut off. Our messages don't come across clearly. So I want to give you a couple examples of this. Okay. Um, Effective communication will pop up on the lock screen now. So if you have a clear, concise voicemail, this is just as good, if not better, than a text message. It has 100% deliverability. For anybody that's tried to do A2P registration for compliant text messaging on their business, it's a bear. It's a nightmare, right? This new iPhone update will keep your message on the customer's lock screen until they take action on it. 100% deliverability. So understanding this one thing can increase a delivered message to every single phone call that goes to voicemail to an iPhone. So what do we want to do? Well, we want it to be like one sentence. It can't be super long because the lock screen isn't going to capture too much information. I've played around with this. It's a good idea to state a reason why you're calling. That usually gets people to call you back. And then, an action item, something that encourages the customer or prospective customer to take action immediately. Now, about a week or two ago, I had a problem at one of my rental properties. I had a bit of a leak with the extreme weather we had up in here in Rochester, New York, and had a pipe burst, unfortunately. So I had to call a contractor, and I called them before work. They weren't open. They called me right as I was getting into my first meeting, and they left a message, and this is what it looked like. So it said, "Hi, good morning. My name is Ann. I'm calling from Pink Rose Home Services. Was dot 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 dot." Now this is like, I'd rate this like a 75% out of 100, right? Like pretty good. I've got who's calling. I can see the business's name. I know I called them earlier in the day. I'm pretty likely to either grab this call or let it go to voicemail and give them a call back, which is what I actually did. So I said, you know what? Let me try calling myself from Ricochet, right? And I'm not going to say anything at all. I called my cell phone. And this is what it looked like. I didn't say anything when it asked me to state my name. It just showed up as a missed call. So if your sales team is calling and they're not stating their name when they're being prompted, this is what it looks like to the customer. On the worst side, right, if you don't have spam protection, it just shows missed call from scam likely. Now I called my cell phone back and I kind of rambled on a little bit, right? I didn't have a clear, concise message. I wasn't prepared, and I just said, "Oh, Brett, yeah, this is Brett with XYZ, yeah, XYZ Insurance, right?" And this is what the message looks like on the home screen again, right? So I think we're starting to get the message here, right? We need to have a script. So the technology that iPhone came out with is really cool. It's got AI transcription, it's got AI name detection. So if you clearly state your name, it will automatically recommend to your prospect who might be calling, right? That builds credibility, right? Hey, this might be a real human being, maybe Brett. People like humans, right? So they're a lot more likely to answer Brett the human than, scam caller. And you can see the reason for calling. So this was happening while the call was actually coming in, and it was transcribing, put in the lead's name. "Hey, name, please pick up. It's Brett with insurance company. I'm wrapping up your quote now. 2 questions. Please answer." Now, if I was you, I'd probably put something even better with a call to action. So if I'm calling Quote Wizard, these amazing Quote Wizard leads, I'm probably going to put something in there that I know, resonates. Like, "Hey, I'm wrapping up your quote now. Did you want a $500 or $1,000 deductible?" Right? Like, oh, this sounds serious, right? That person's probably going to be a little bit more likely to answer the phone versus this person. Okay. So think about your customer, put yourself in their shoes. What can you do with these simple little tricks to help give you that great first impression? They say first impressions are everything. I truly believe that. So quick takeaway, have a clear, concise script. Test it on yourself, right? Call your cell phone from your business phone line. See how it comes up. Have your team build a script. have them test it out and have them take screenshots of what it looks like on their phone to make sure that you're happy with it. Okay. Now, once again, 2026 contact rates, best call practices, these are going to be really key ingredients to your success if you're investing into leads, if you're trying to grow your agency and you're trying to grow your business. Hopefully you took some lessons out of this today. For anybody that would like to talk more about their specific situation, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to share all of my contact information with Gina, so I'm sure that we can send that out in like a post follow-up email. And then my email is right here on the screen as well too. So I'll leave that up for a minute. Feel free, drop me a direct email. I'd love to take a look at what you're currently doing, the systems you have in place, the results you're getting versus the results you may want, and see if there's anything that we can do to help bridge that potential hitting gap. All right, so let's jump back into the questions here, and I kind of lost my spot a little bit, so forgive me if I miss anyone's questions. If I do, feel free to redrop them in the chat. So can I get a company name again to register with? So yeah, you have to have a legitimate company name to register for spam protection. Okay, so if you don't have a legal business entity, they're going to want an EIN number. Okay, so they're going to want an EIN number to do it the right way. Got to have the EIN number. If you're a sole proprietorship, there is a way to do it, I believe, with your state license number. It's a little bit more sophisticated. For anybody that needs help with that, please reach out. We would be happy to assist. Another question. So any voicemail drop providers that recommend that work with Teams? So we have a perfect voicemail feature. So like when you're calling out, you can click a button and drop pre-recorded messages. It's not like a mass voicemail. That is another kind of factor in the spam. So we kind of got away from that a little while back. Um, there are companies out there that still do like mass ringless voicemail. In our system, it's going to be a one by one, right? So each of your salesperson can record their own pre-templated voicemails. When they hit somebody's voicemail box, they just click a button and Ricochet would leave the voicemail on their behalf. Not only do you get that voicemail every time that goes over 10 seconds, which helps to protect your caller ID reputation, which helps to increase your contact rate, which increases quote and sales volume. But on top of that, you can also have like multiple of them, right? So you can record one for new leads that don't answer. You can record one for pending quotes. You can record one for cross sells or requotes or terminations or audits, right? So like whatever your team's doing, like how can we templatize that in a voicemail format and allow our team to click one button and drop that every time, right? It's not just going to get people calling you back. In 2026, it's going to actually help to preserve your contact rate and get you more quoting opportunity. So what about the blue check mark on iPhones? So yeah, I mean, we don't have technology to get you a blue check mark on an iPhone. We do have text messaging, but it will not have a blue check mark. Forgive me, but you might know if I should avoid double tapping when I receive a busy signal. Yeah, I think just double tapping in general is just not best call practices. What I would recommend is like set a timer. So like you call a lead and, set 15 minutes, right? Like you call a lead, wait 15 minutes, do a second attempt. Um, Oscar, thanks for the compliment. It's great to have you on. Appreciate the kind words. Awesome. If there's any other questions, feel free to drop those in the chat. I think I got to all of them, but once again, I apologize if I missed anybody. It certainly was not intentional. Just a lot of great questions in the chat today.
Oh, okay, there we go. How to test our spam rating.
Yeah, so I would just Google like how to test if my number's been flagged as potential spam. There's a couple different resources, both paid and free, with different degrees of accuracy that will be able to tell you if a phone number is flagged. Once it's in our system, if you're making the calls out of our system, we do have detection in there, but your phone number has to be in Ricochet. Brian Haya, it's First Orion. So First Orion. And then there's another one called TNS.
And then They have a question about they found when double dialing, the first one does not go through and the second one does. Is there a way to avoid that?
No, it's short-term pleasure for long-term pain. So, double tapping will work in the short term, right? So like it will work initially, but if it's a long-term strategy that like a team or a salesperson is implementing on a regular basis, you're going to have ebbs and flows of contact, right? So you'll have 2 weeks where contact is really good, your numbers get flagged, and then it feels like it's super hard to get people on the phone. Your numbers may or may not get taken off of that flagged list. A lot of times they don't. Even if you take it off the flag list, you submit all the documentation, a lot of times it's good for maybe a week or two, and then it can get flagged again. So a lot of agents that are doing this at a really high level, they kind of feel like they're on this hamster wheel. They're constantly trying to remediate phone numbers. Our system remediates these fully automated. So like you do not have to touch it. We do all of the monitoring for you, and then you just watch the contact rate soar, right? And it's pretty evident if you start out, prior to Ricochet with a 20% contact rate, you run the same team and same leads, and after a month you're at 46% contact rate. There's a key variable there, right? Ricochet was that factor. Okay, great questions. So Jason, you have Ricochet with Spam Guru. We register our numbers, or is it redundant at this point? So Spam Guru does the registration, but what I would encourage you to do is reach out to support at ricochet360.com. We got something new. Jason, I think you've been on for a while, man. So we have Pro now. It's $2.80 extra a line in your spam scheme, right? Your spam phone number infrastructure. So if you've got like, 10 numbers, it's an extra 28 bucks a month. But for that, what we're going to do is we're going to now monitor your phone numbers in real time. We formed an integration with all the major phone companies. So with Verizon, with AT&T, with T-Mobile, with Sprint, we have direct API integrations with the major phone carriers. So now if they flag your numbers, we get a signal at the speed of light if you have Pro turned on. Now it's fully automated. So it's a super new feature. It just dropped very recently, Jason. So you're not late to the party here at all, right? This is kind of what I'm here to announce today. So check out Spam Guru Pro, email support at ricochet360.com and say, hey, I'd like to get a quote on turning on Pro, or email me directly, Jason. I'd be happy to take a look at your account and get Pro turned on if it makes sense. But it is a huge lift in contact rate, a huge. Truth be told, we've had spam protection for years. Okay, what 2025 taught us was our previous prevention mechanisms were no longer adequate with the more aggressive algorithms that these phone carriers are now running and labeling as spam. What's required is prevention plus remediation. Okay, so Jason, let's talk offline about that, or just message my support team. They'll get you set up right away. Okay, Gina, sorry
Um,
to jump
no,
in
you're
there.
okay. This was
Yeah,
great. And I'm sure, Jason, you're not the only one. I'm sure other people are in your shoes
yeah.
too. So I think that's really great.
And one thing I
Um,
want to throw out to the Ricochet customers just real quick, if there's any Ricochet customers here, I want to throw a free optimization call with a level 4 support rep on the Ricochet team. Let us do a full audit of your reporting and of your account, totally for free. Um, Anybody that wants to do that, I'm going to send the link out. I'll send it over to Gina if we want to get that out. So if you're a Ricochet customer, schedule that optimization call. Let my expert team comb through your data and make some recommendations on what we can do to help you get even better results.
this is one shifting gears. If there's someone new to telemarketing, what's in your opinion the best advice to run with?
So new to telemarketing. All right, so I'm just going to be very candid. A lot of agents want to do telemarketing right now, and you might not be there. So like, just have a real honest conversation with yourself. Look at your team's activity. If they're talking for anything less than 3 hours a day of actual quality conversation, you need to get them there first before you get them a telemarketer. Okay, so like 3 hours of talk time a day. If they're at an hour or 2 hours a day, get them on Ricochet, get them to 3 hours a day, and then layer in a telemarketer, right? Why? If we just get the sales team really, really accustomed to just getting every single phone call to them, they will become kind of adverse from what I've seen to doing follow-up calls on even quotes, right? So they'll just kind of sit and wait for the opportunity, right? So get your team up to their bandwidth, which for anybody on this call, if your sales team is doing the selling and the calling, I'd push them for at least 150, 200 calls a day, at least 3 to 4 hours of talk time. Once everybody's there, then you layer on a telemarketer. Right? Another good kind of point is if they hit like 30, 40K in premium, usually they're paying for themselves, they're paying for their marketing, and they're paying for their systems. Once they get to that point, layering on a telemarketer will just help to supplement their call volume. And they will need to make less calls as the salesperson, which they'll be very happy about, but their talk time should increase by a factor of, probably 1 to 2 hours extra a day. Okay. The other thing I would say is if you've got a telemarketer, there is kind of a max capacity. So if like you have a big team, like 2 to 3 people, like 2 to 3 salespeople per telemarketer is kind of the max I've seen, right? Two is probably more ideal. Any more than that, you really can't, you can't get enough transfers over to, your salespeople. Okay. Pricing, yeah. So John asked about pricing. So it ranges. It really depends on what you need. Our prices range from $20 a seat up to $250 a seat with all the bells and whistles. Not every agency is the same. Not everybody needs the same thing, and we have a way to structure this where it fits into everybody's budget and gets you the features that you really need. What I would suggest is anybody that's interested, just reach out to me. Send me a quick email. I'm going to put my email in the chat here as well too. And just send me a message and just say, hey, I'd be interested in chatting and we can set up a time to talk. But that's to everybody. Once again, Ricochet customers, I'm going to get you a free optimization call. If you've been on for a while, we got a lot of new stuff going on. Let my team take a look at your data and see what we can do to possibly help you drive a better ROI on your marketing so you can buy more leads and more importantly, make more money, right? That's what it's all about. So this was a lot of fun. Gina, any other questions that you saw or
I
that I
think
may
you
have
got
missed?
them all, but if I'm wrong, I was like, we'll give everybody a minute to pop them back in,
Cool.
or if
Well,
anything new comes up.
I just want to say thank you to you. I mean, you do such an amazing job hosting these. It's always a pleasure getting on with the Quote Wizard, network. And I think for everyone that took the time to listen to me for an hour today, super special thank you to you. Hopefully, you took one thing away, whether you have Ricochet or not. And I just want to wish everyone a very successful and positive day filled with lots of quotes and lots of closed deals.
I love that. Thank you. I was gonna say the double dialing, no double dialing. I think everybody that was new. I'm sure that helped everybody here,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I used to do it myself, right? So I mean it's
Oh
it's
yeah.
been a big debate for a long time. It's just the data and the conversations we're having behind closed doors are really indicating that that is a thing of the past. So we want to leave that in 2025, 2026, you know, put the customer mindset on a little bit, right? The days of just kind of smiling and dialing are kind of done, right? We kind of got to be a little bit engaged. We have to have a script for the voicemails. If we want to get callbacks, we want to have that screen lock message delivered every time. That's a huge, huge factor, I think, right? Like there's going to be a lot of businesses that have no idea that that's even happening. So, quick takeaway, whether you got Ricochet or not, write up a quick voicemail script. It can really help you, get a lot more deals, just that alone.
Okay, well, again, thanks everyone. Thanks for being here. I'll send out all of this info and I'll get the recording to you. So I hope, echoing what Brett said, I hope everyone has a good day.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, bye everybody.